Americans like you are why this continues. I'm being extremely serious because his announcement of him moving the Space Force from Colorado to Alabama is being treated as so unserious. And yes, it is. But what's the most critical and dangerous aspect of this? That he is proving that he stays true to his word to the states, right? To the red states or any state that helps him. In fact, Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, has said that her strategy towards DT is different than the blue states because her state voted majority for him. So she has to compromise, right? If they tell her, give up 3.3 million Jews or we're going to harm your economy, she's going to do it. She didn't say it in those words, but basically, the Poland government did exactly that. The people resisted though, so I'm expecting for people in Michigan to resist, even if your governor does not, okay? But this is the thing, because states will go for what's most beneficial for their state, right? What did the Alaska senator do with the big, beautiful bill? She was like, fuck up the country or fuck up Alaska. Fuck up the country. And that's what's happening, right? Because Alabama sent over some National Guard to Washington, D.C., and now they have what? Space Force, right? So the dangerous part is that he's saying that if you are a loyalist, you will benefit. If you dissent, you will not. And I'm not scared of that, and neither should you. But what this does mean is that blue states have to be fucking around, continuing to theorize that they're going to solve secession and remove federal funding, yet not do it. We are so much about talk, we don't actually fucking do it. And this is the thing, right? Because ultimately, they can do whatever the fuck they want, and we think we're just going to sue them, we're just going to shame them, and think that that finishes what they're doing, right? And it doesn't. It doesn't because they don't give a fuck, because two words, authoritarian law. The National Guard is said to be illegal, his deployment of it. But he's going to appeal, he's going to keep it, and ultimately at the conclusion of it, if his deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles was illegal, and the National Guard individuals actually obeyed his orders that were illegal, what consequences will these National Guards, especially those who went into the farms in Ventura, those who were driving away, the kidnapped individuals and downtown Los Angeles, what will happen to them? Because you're gonna say, they were just doing their job. All they did was, protect a federal building. But then you're gonna say the same shit about ICE. You're gonna say the same shit about FBI. You're gonna say the same shit about the three-letter agencies, right? You're gonna make an excuse, a moral gray zone as to why they don't count and why they shouldn't face consequences. But ultimately, if we really want to hold people accountable, we have to hold people accountable who are on our side, but also contributed because they said, I was just following orders, right? And that's the thing, right? Because when it comes to him moving the Space Force from Colorado to Alabama, it's because Colorado is losing and Alabama is gaining. The decision to end federal funding from the blue states should be in the coming days. I know it won't be, but it should be. They can theorize all they want for months and years and never fucking do it. And people are clapping like, yeah, you should do it. And then they don't. Do you know why? Because they're scared of the consequences. Because there will be consequences, like the consequences of what? Colorado losing Space Force, right? They're going to continue. I've told you this. I've told you exactly this, that they're going to remove from the blue states to force us to adapt to their policies. This is an open book authoritarian playbook. So I don't know why American exceptionalism is making us think that litigation and shaming and even voting will take us out of this. No. Voting, there will be an election. It doesn't have to be fair, but there will be an election because the illusion is necessary in order to give legitimacy to a regime, right? So whether or not the results can be trusted because they put in, National Guard or, ICE at the voting locations, that's the question, right? But ultimately, there will be an election, even if it may not be fair, right? Litigation, the rule of law never ends tyranny because it upholds the rule of law that the tyrant actually promotes, right? Because if there's no guardrails in order to stop that, which there isn't in the United States, there can be, but it's very vague, so it takes actual independent judges and justices to be capable of interpreting that. What we see is lazy interpretations of litigation from the Supreme Court and from the appeal court, and throughout it's a 50-50. So ultimately we cannot, be protected in that end itself. But also, a tyrant does not care about shaming. They don't care that you got them on their hypocrisy because they have the power. Okay, they don't care. And here's the thing, what are we gonna do about it? And that's the question, right? Because they're making blue states lose and red states gain, with blue states funding the most. We need to cut off that money cord.